Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 3-0 Take, where we talk all things Major League Baseball. Here's Kyle Corwin and Nate Reyes. It all starts right now.
Welcome back to the 3-0 Take, presented by Big League Chew. This is episode 286. I'll be your host, Kyle Corwin, and I'm here with my co-host, Nate Reyes. And Nate.
Hey.
Fresh
what up,
off.
Chasers? What up, dog? I need to formally and publicly congratulate you on your victory this week. In
I was going to say, you beat me to it. I was going to say fresh off just a huge fantasy win.
Yeah.
Now I don't feel like I can really rub it in as much because you're just over here being all polite with it and everything.
Yeah, that's the goal. Well, I mean, the truth is, you've traded for an all-star team, and I have as well, but it doesn't look great when half the people I traded for are injured. So
yeah, it
doesn't work, man.
I think on paper you may have the better team. I'm not sure, but
I have the slight edge in pitching.
You're stacked in injuries right now.
Yeah, it's hurting. It's hurting your boy a little bit, but it's all good. Hey, look, when I lose and then I look at the rest of the league and I'm like, well, I would have beaten everybody except you and one other guy. I'll take that. Like, hey, like I did what I'm supposed to do. Put up points. It happens. It's a long season.
I don't know if you've ever beaten me in fantasy though. Maybe once.
Oh, I've definitely beaten you in fantasy, for sure.
I don't know about that.
I think I beat you the first year in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I remember
because I made it to the championship. I've only been in the championship for our fantasy stuff, so just saying.
That's not the case. Last year, I was up against James in the championship.
Oh, last year I was third. That's right. I was third last year. It's all good. It happens. I'm not stressing yet. Long season. And eventually these trade offers that I'm throwing out to people, you know who you are. You'll start to understand that your season is lost.
For those people listening, Nate puts on a front. He seems like a nice guy, but he does some greasy stuff behind the scenes.
All I'm saying is eventually you guys are going to see that your season is lost, and at a certain point, you just gotta shake things up.
To give Nate the boost he's looking for. Hey, speaking of getting a boost, how are you feeling? Have you recovered from yesterday's early AM game? It was Yankees yesterday, wasn't it? On the Peacock?
It was, but I was golfing, so I was up even earlier.
Ooh, okay.
I woke up at 5 to golf yesterday.
That's
so
rough.
Early enough to where I finished my round and still made it back home to catch the end of the Yankees game. But yeah, what is going on? 8:30 my time? It's an 11:30 Eastern start on Peacock?
I love it, to be honest with you. This Sunday, because I think the Red Sox had one.
11:30 is good.
That's what I'm saying.
But my side, 8:30 is absurdly early.
I was thinking about you yesterday because I even tuned in after we got back from church. I was like, let's tune in and see how the old Bronx Bombers are doing, because it's just it's a perfect time, especially if it's your team, because it's like, okay, if there's anything I want to do today, I can at least watch the game, and then I've got the rest of the day to do whatever.
Yeah.
But I think the Sox had one. I want to say that was against the White Sox. Possibly. I love
Peacock?
it. Yeah.
Is that just what Peacock is doing, is the Sunday morning game?
Yeah, the Sunday morning game. Which, like I said, I'm a fan of. I'm also a fan. I don't think we've actually gotten a chance to talk about this yet, but the Apple TV broadcast.
I did just use it for the first time on Friday.
Big fan of that as well. You know, I was kind of on the fence about it because I hadn't got to experience it yet. And I think, again, going back to the Red Sox, I think they actually had the first Apple TV broadcast of the year, if I'm not mistaken. But big fan of the interface. just the graphics they use and all that. Which I've seen other people talk about this before. The picture quality is incredible.
Picture quality is crazy.
I don't understand it. Like it,
Crazy
not even just
good.
like you know how they do for the NFL where they have like the side shots where they're using that like 4K stuff.
Yeah.
And like the depth of focus, the field of depth or whatever.
Yeah.
Not only do they do those kinds of things, the broadcast quality of just what you're the view from behind the pitcher, every pitch, that's incredible.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing. They're doing something different with their cameras. Like I noticed even after a home run, like you know how you get like a cameraman will follow. If you've been at a game, you've seen a cameraman come out and he'll follow the runner coming down, like rounding third, coming home. Right. And he'll go real low and watch them run and touch home plate, right? For Apple TV, it's like they did that, and then they followed, I don't remember who hit the home run. They followed him all the way into the dugout, and it's like looking over the railing of the dugout, and you can just see all the high fives and stuff. And I was like, we don't really get that camera view very often. Sometimes we'll get like the end of the dugout, and you see the guy just walking down, and you see him giving high fives, walking closer to the camera. But this one was like over the railing, just like looking over top. It was cool. They did a good job.
They get up in there. Although
it was a tough transition to like be okay with other streaming sites providing games. But I think that's just the way it's going to be. And like, I don't hate it. It's not that bad.
I mean, the one downside to those national type broadcasts is you're always just going to have people that aren't as much in the loop as your familiar broadcasting team.
Yeah.
Because they kept calling for the Sox game, they kept calling somebody by a nickname that just was never a thing. And I don't even remember who it was or who they were referring to. I thought it was something with Xander. But it's just like you're making up nicknames that don't exist. But
and that's the other thing that I think that's why national broadcasts have gone downhill in general. Like that's why we hate ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. It's because for the most part, it's people that aren't clued in. And if it's your team and you spend the entire week listening to your team's broadcast, getting that in-depth, knowledgeable, up-to-date broadcasting style, comments and everything, and then you go to national TV and you're like, that's actually not true. Whatever you just noted happened 2 weeks ago, and it's not even a thing anymore for our team, or like you said, like a random nickname you've never heard. So I think I'm okay with that style, but I think it's just like you have to take national broadcasts with a grain of salt a little bit. Did you see the CC post-game interview on Peacock after, where he was down on the... So he was like down on the field with, I'm assuming like another broadcaster. It was on mute for me, to be honest with you. I'll just totally honest. I'd throw the game on in the living room. That's kind of like the compromise with the girl, like she's like, yeah, but I'm cleaning. Do you mind like putting on some music? I don't want to listen to the Yankees game. So I was like, all right, that's cool.
That's fair.
So throw it on mute. But he was like down on the field, and I don't know if that's like something Peacock does where they're grabbing like one former player or one analyst or something, and they're having that at each game as they travel. Or again, this is my first time seeing it. I don't know if CC's just got to deal with Peacock and he's traveling. I don't know.
I think it is. I can't remember if it's Peacock or Apple TV. I want to say it's Peacock, but they have, and again, I can't remember if it's one or the other, if they both do this, but they take at least from what I've seen thus far throughout the season, they take a personality from that team and incorporate them into the broadcast to give them like
during the broadcast.
Like to give them a little bit of
so
inside
what was the
flavor,
team,
if you will.
What was the broadcast team when you watched for the Sox game?
I believe they had...
I guess that like pink-haired chick is like the main one, right? She's got like short pink hair.
For the Red Sox?
No. I'm saying for Apple TV.
Oh, I honestly I don't even remember. When I had that game on, it was on mute, but I was on and off. But the one personality that I recall them having, I believe, again for Peacock was Euclid, because he's doing some work for Nesson right now. So I think they grabbed him, and incorporated him in there a little bit.
So that's smart. Like Peacock is just like borrowing.
Yeah, which I mean is a step in the
cool.
right direction for these national broadcasts. But
see, Apple TV, I don't know if Chris Young was in there. I don't know if Chris Young is just a part of the Apple TV team or
I think he is.
He was in a former
yeah.
Yankee.
It was because he was. If I recall, you said that was for Apple.
That was for Apple TV, yeah.
Yeah, he was the one that was coming up with these nicknames, and I do remember that watching that Friday night game. I was like,
so he's just a part of that team.
Come on, guy, like
yeah.
So he's part of the band.
It was just a weird weekend for me, just because like Friday was Apple TV, Sunday was Peacock, and I'm like, I'm not used to this, but it was kind of cool because again, I get it, like it's a love-hate thing for a lot of people, but like Michael K. He said he was since he wasn't covering the game Sunday, he was like, I'm just gonna take my son and just go sit in the Legends seats, and so you could see him like right behind the away dugout, just sitting like 3 rows up. He's got like a polo on, sunglasses, his son sitting next to him with a Judge jersey. So it's like, that's kind of cool, like seeing, like your broadcaster take a day off and still go to the stadium. So
I was gonna say, I don't know if I had to be there for however many games. I don't know if
I know my day off.
I could take my day off.
Yeah.
Like we all know Nate's going golfing. I don't know what I'd be doing, but I don't know if I'd be going to the park. Man. Nate, we are a third of the way through the season, which in case you didn't know, for those for those doing the math at home, 162 games rather, divided by 3 is 54, and we have played 54 games. So we are a third of the way through the Major League season of 2022. So, as we like to do here at the 3-0 Take, let's look, see where we're at with the standings. There's been a little bit of a shakeup since the last time we checked in. Let's just see if anything jumps out at us. We'll get into the Angels and their 11-game skid. We'll get into the Phillies a little bit more later when we talk about Joe Girardi being fired on Friday, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. But is there anything else that jumps out at you? Actually, before you get to that, let me just say something. And I'm not trying to sound like a homer here. I'm just referring back to my point about the law of averages that I made within in a recent episode. Everyone was freaking out. Well, depending on which side of the aisle you're on. You're either freaking out about the Red Sox or you were just doubling down on your hatred for the Red Sox when they started out whatever they started. I mean, it felt like 50 games below 500. They hadn't even played 50 games yet, and it felt like 50 games. The Red Sox are a 500 ball club right now. Okay? And just as a little exercise, and look, I'm just going to use Boston as the threshold right now because they're at an even 500. They're 27-27. And I just want to look at some of the other clubs around the league that are now below that mark that people were just riding so hard to start the season because of how well they're playing or because of maybe they weren't living up to expectations, this or that. Now that we are a third of the way through the season, I just want to look at some clubs that aren't at that market. And I'm not saying that this is any indication of what's going to happen the rest of the season. I'm just saying I want you to see, as a baseball fan who is listening to this podcast, while there's no reason to freak out when things like this happen, because things fall into place over the course of a 162-game season. Okay?
Yeah.
So, as I said, the Red Sox are 27-27, a clean 500. All right? Let's hop over to the Central, shall we? Let's look at the Chicago White Sox. Picked to run away with the division, us included. They're 25-27 right now. And they're not even in second place. They're in third place in the AL Central right now. Okay? I mean, I don't even want to really talk about the Tigers and Royals too much. I think they've let a lot of people down, including us, because we had much higher hopes for that, especially the Royals.
Yeah.
And even the Tigers, too. I can't even remember how I had them finishing in terms of order, but they've just really hit a skid.
I feel like you had them third.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Behind Chicago and Minnesota, I believe.
The Angels, who I said we'll get into a little more in depth here in a little bit, they're a game below 500. Everyone, I remember seeing the graphics. Oh, are we looking at an all-LA World Series potentially? They're a game below 500. I'm not saying it can't still happen. I'm just saying where we're at right now, everybody was freaking out.
Yeah.
They're a game below 500. The Mariners, who I think people had, again, including us, had high expectations for it. They're slipping a little bit. They are, 6 games under 500?
They are.
The Phillies, who, again, we'll get into, they're 4 games below 500. The Pirates, who we all thought were going to run away. No, I'm just kidding. They're playing good ball, man. The Pirates are playing good ball.
I mean, never in a million years would I have said that at the beginning of the year that I thought, the Pirates would be in a better position than the Cubs a third of the way through the year.
Or even the Reds, to be honest with you. I think we had... It's safe to say we had the Reds finishing 4th, right? And, we all know what the Reds have done thus far. But to be fair, hey, while we're here, let's give the Reds some love that they deserve. Did I read correctly that they have the best record in baseball since they started? What was it? 3-26.
Is that true?
What was their start? Yeah, they had. Let's see. Let's find it because I want to make sure. A stat
so that would put them at 15 and 9 since that.
Let's see.
They're 18 and 35. I guess we can give them a little love.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't in baseball, but it was in the division and possibly the National League. They started 3-22. They went 11-8 over their. This was May 26th, so I think it's actually improved since then. I can't find the stat, but all that to say, playing much better baseball out there in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Although they took the L on a rather embarrassing loss to the Nationals, getting backpicked to end the game at first yesterday. Who else?
I mean, I think as far as surprises on the positive side of things, I mean the Twins are playing better baseball than I would have expected. I still don't see them winning that division. I do think even at 5 games back as of June 6th for the White Sox, I do think they'll eventually get over that hump, but. I mean, obviously, we know that the Mets look different. I say it again. I'll say it over and over again. They look different. And I understand your argument of the law of averages and eventually kind of evening things out. Look, the Yankees aren't going to stay at a 722 win percentage. That's not feasible. It's not going to happen, right?
I see that grin on your face. You want it to happen.
Oh, I'd love to, but it's not going to. They're not going to win 140 games this year. It's just not going to happen. But, I'm delightfully surprised by, honestly, the Padres. Without Tatis, And I think we were all just kind of about certain GM decisions and bringing certain guys on board and what they were trying to do identity wise. But I said it before and I haven't thought about it again until now, but Bob Melvin makes a difference, man. Like that was a swoop. That was a very underrated swoop. And I said it when it happened in the offseason. I said that was going to be one of the best transactions any team has made, player or manager change. Look, they're 2 games back from the Dodgers. They're 33-21 as of today. That's pretty good, dude. I mean, honestly,
they're holding their own. They are holding their own.
And the Giants are playing. I think they've come back down to earth a little bit. I don't think the Giants are the same as what they were last year. They're 5.5 back. So I'm a little surprised with the Padres. I got to give them some credit. And I think if they can continue to do this and stay within that 5 or so games back in the division, and then they get Tatis back, and you're watching this lightning rod of energy re-enter your clubhouse, who knows, dude? Who knows?
I think one of the more impressive marks for the Padres right now is how they're playing away from Petco. They are 20-11 on the road.
That's excellent.
And looking around the league, their record against teams 500 or better, they're playing 500 ball. And if you look around the league, there are not many teams that are much better.
Right.
Or really even close.
Yeah. Well, that pitching staff is for the most part healthy, and getting Clevenger back and Darvish is still doing his thing. I think what people forget about certain names when they're hot on the market for trades, specifically referring to Manaea right now, I think that the average fan will glorify what that pitcher is capable of. Manaea is a very solid young talent, but by no means did the Padres expect that they were getting a Justin Verlander out of that transaction. You know what I mean? This is a solid 3 or 4 guy in the rotation, and he's pitching like it. Then you don't need him to be anything else. And this is what it can do when you have that healthy rotation of when you got your horse, and then you got a solid 2, and then the rest of the guys just kind of fall in line and do what they're supposed to be doing. That's what happens when they're healthy, and they're playing good ball. I'd be thrilled right now if I was a Padres fan. I really would.
I agree.
Just hang around. Just hang around and stay in that conversation. And then when mid-August, if you're within 5 games, that's best case scenario, I think. Especially with what the Dodgers are capable of and what they've done to continue to build on their roster each year. So I'd be thrilled for sure.
And that same line of thinking could be applied to the American League East if you're the Blue Jays. I think a lot of people, including us, had the Blue Jays. Well, me. I can't remember where you had did you have the Blue Jays winning the division this year?
I did, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, popular opinion, I think, had the Blue Jays winning the division, but I think it's safe to say at this point the Yankees are the force to be reckoned with in this division. So again, that line of thinking of being thrilled with where you're at could be applied to the Blue Jays, especially as of late. I mean, you're 8-2 in your last 10. You're coming off a loss on Sunday, but still playing much better ball than you had been, because if you're the Blue Jays, you would hit a little bit of a skid, and you had people wondering if maybe this was maybe if the outlook more so was a little bit incorrect. But I think you're reasserting yourself as the team that many people thought you were heading into this season. So, if you're the Blue Jays, you are 7.5 games back of the Yankees right now, entering Monday. but we've seen gaps close like that before.
Yeah.
Not to say that that's going to happen here, but if you're the Blue Jays, I really like where you're at this point.
Yeah.
In the season.
And I think what they're starting to realize and be okay with, and again, the average fan, I think at times can lose sight of this. You're not going to have that entire lineup hot the whole year. It doesn't work that way. And you got to rotate through patches of guys where you got 2 or 3 that are hot, and then they'll rotate through and they'll cool down, and the other guys will get going. So we're seeing this little bit of a valley for Vladdy, and I looked at his numbers and I'm like, you're still like there's a lot of guys that would happily take the year he's having, and this is down for him. He's not doing what he typically does.
And if you recall, when I believe it was before the season even started, when we were making our MVP picks, I said Vladdy is either gonna go off and perform at an even higher level than he did last year, or he's going to be a little shell-shocked after the way last year ended, where it's like, I did what I did and still missed out on the MVP. So
right.
I was, and if you recall, I was curious about how that was going to play out, because I'm like, it's still a relatively young kid. I don't know how he would respond to something like that, to feel like you did everything you could.
Yeah,
and not that he's taken anything away from himself or what he accomplished last year, but I was just curious to see how he would bounce back. I say bounce back. He doesn't have to bounce back from anything, but not getting that same recognition that he otherwise would have gotten had Shohei not been in the league last year.
Yeah.
So hoping that he can heat up and perform at that level that he was last year.
Yeah, and I do think I think the Blue Jays are just going to let this kind of run out a little bit, let this lineup do what it does, and then it's clear that they're not scared to make a move, and I wouldn't be surprised if they make a move before the deadline to bolster things up and kind of reassess what's going on. But I talked about it before. They have that young catching prospect, and I feel like that's probably their only hole that they really have, and maybe a little bullpen help, and they're right back on track.
I don't know. They've been getting some pop. They've at least been getting some pop from the position. I mean, in terms of consistency.
I know Kirk and Danny Jensen. That's what I'm saying is like those two guys, solid. But they're going to have to eventually decide, because I think this younger kid that is I'm spacing on his name again, but he's one of the top prospects in baseball. He's their number one prospect. He's going to have to come up eventually. And so that's what I'm saying is that when they do make that move, expect one of those catchers, maybe even this prospect, I don't know, attached with, a Kevin Biggio, and you're going to get something solid back. They're going to go buy something to fill a hole that they have. But don't wake a sleeping giant. That's how I feel about the Blue Jays. You know what I mean? And I think for them, as I feel like if they can stay in that conversation, just get me into the postseason and watch what they do. And that could be something to where if Vladdy just has an average or below average season on his standards, I think he's that kind of guy that can just happily hit the reset button the second September hits and October baseball started. And you know what I mean? Like you've seen certain guys do that.
Flip the switch.
I.e. like a Kike Hernandez last year, right? Like kind of average throughout the year. I think you can speak better than most. Like he wasn't anything special, and then postseason turned on. It was like, whoa, Jock Peterson does that.
God mode.
Yeah, I think there's certain guys that just kind of flip that switch that when postseason hits, it's like another gear. I could see Vladdy being one of those guys. So again, just don't wake a sleeping giant. The Blue Jays are going to be just fine, and they're going to make moves to fill holes, and all they got to do is just stay in the conversation for now and stay above the Rays.
Speaking of flipping the switch come postseason, I think a team that's familiar with that is the Atlanta Braves. And I had a note here as we're wrapping up this bit on where the standings are at right now. Danny Vietti, I've referenced some of his tweets. He's got some good stuff out there, and every now and then I'll pull a tweet or two from him. He put out a tweet yesterday. It said the Atlanta Braves record this time last year was 27-29, and their record this year is 28-27.
Mm-hmm.
So again, my entire point with this, and people are probably sick of me saying it by this point, but the whole law of averages thing, like, just let the season play out. If your team's playing really well right now, enjoy it, but recognize that they're going to come down to earth at least a little bit.
Yep.
They may not be flying, but they'll come down and they'll be hovering. It won't be free falling, but they'll come down a little bit. If your team's playing terribly right now, just wait it out. I mean, sure, you've got some exceptions of teams that are just flat out bad.
Yeah,
but like
if
you're a team such like the White Sox, like just wait it out. You'll be fine. Just relax. Take a deep breath. I know it's so tough to fight the urge to want to just fall into a pit of self-despair, because believe me, like, I saw a meme. Speaking of this, I saw a meme yesterday where it was like, it was this outline of a head, and inside the brain it said team loses like a sporting, like a game. It was basically for like sports fans. It's like favorite team loses a game, and then the words he was saying was life is meaningless. It's like, I get that on a random Tuesday in June. If my team loses, it's like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to go out. I bring me some food and just let me wallow. I get it. But if your team is playing terribly right now and you think that they should be playing better, just trust that you will more likely than not see a little bit of improvement again if your team is capable of doing such a thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you are a sports fan and you're a fan of multiple sports, and you're obviously a baseball fan because you're listening to us, look, we're one of the last few sports that has incentivized the regular season. This is something to where these guys are still going to continue to play. They're still going to continue to ball out. And I think this goes back to our argument as to why we don't want to expand these playoffs too much. We don't want to let too many teams in. But allowing your team to understand that this is a marathon. The regular season still matters. They're not throwing in the towel. And teams like the Braves, again, another GM that's not afraid to make moves and shake things up and bring guys in. And I feel like it could be heading in that direction where they're going to go find those underrated guys to fill in gaps. And you're going to be okay. You're going to be all right. And in the conversation of the Freddie Freeman stuff, the only thing I can say is it's maybe a different clubhouse culture. On-field production, I think you're still going to be able to fill those shoes. But it's the clubhouse culture mentality. That's the one thing I'd be curious to see what changes here. And I think that's that mentally strong moment of, getting into the season and saying, hey, we're only a game above 500. Let's get it going. And trust that it will get going. Don't press, just trust that it'll get going.
Because it got going last year.
Yeah, that's that veteran presence that mentions that. And I'm curious if there is a name in that clubhouse that is going to step up and say that. And it's not always the superstar. I think that's the one thing that we never really talked about with Freddie Freeman, is that he was both. Freddie Freeman is a superstar, but he's also that clubhouse leader. There's only a select few of those in the league in general, right? You look at Mike Trout, we'll get into this in a minute, but you look at Mike Trout, that's more of a, play by example, follow my lead type guy. I doubt he's going to sit there in the clubhouse and be that vocal, let's get fired up leader.
Mike
right?
Trout's not flipping tables by any stretch.
Not at all. Not at all. So I think that's the one thing I'm curious to see if the Braves are missing, because I think Acuna is a superstar, obviously. I don't know if he has that same type of veteran hammer dropping in the clubhouse. You look at other guys, Austin Riley, Dansby Swanson, they're still on the younger side, right? So like, I'm curious to see whoever they bring in, if it is a big time veteran presence. And I don't know if I can really think of a name right now that could fill that gap. So I think that's the difference between turning that switch on and staying 500, or eventually just, hitting a hot streak and going well above it. So I'm just curious. I think there's going to be a name that they add from somewhere that could help with that.
My big takeaway here for those listening: the team that won the World Series last year started 27-29.
Yeah.
They are 28-27 to start this season. As we have said time and time again.
Right. And what happened in 19 with the Nationals? This is how it
Don't
goes.
even get me started on the Nationals. Anything can happen in baseball. I'm just tired. Even in June, I'm tired of hearing about the overreactions. Like, we still have time. Like, sure, the window, the list of teams where you can hold out hope for is getting smaller, so that teams are starting to get weeded out a little bit, but there's still time. It's still early enough, I should say. Another team that maybe hasn't been weeded out just yet, getting a little hot, at least in my opinion. The Philadelphia Phillies. I'm starting to get the warm and fuzzies a little bit after that game yesterday. Can we just talk about that for a second? The Angels,
solid game.
We'll get into. Well, I had my Sunday league doubleheader yesterday, so I was like watching it while I was in the dugout.
Yeah.
The Angels go into the 8th.
5-1, right?
Was it 5-1? They were down 4 with 2 outs in the 8th. Or no, I'm sorry, they were up 4 with 2 outs in the 8th.
That's 5-1 Bryce Harper grand slam, yeah? To tie it.
I thought it was it, I think it was 6-2.
6-2? Okay.
I think it was 6-2.
Okay.
Yeah, because then Bryson's home run, 3-run homer made it
7-6 or
9-6, I think. Or one of those. Anyway.
Okay.
They were up 4 in the 8th with 2 outs. Bases loaded, full count, 2 outs. They lose the game by what, 3 runs? The Angels?
Yeah, 9-7, 2 runs.
I don't care who they were playing. I don't care that they were playing the Angels, who are just on a terrible skid right now. That's a big win for the Phillies.
Yeah, that's got to feel good.
Especially with the guys who made it happen. Your MVP and
a young up and comer that you're waiting to
so
get him on the map.
about. You're so excited about.
Yeah.
And even on the call, if you go back and listen to the call, they I can't remember who their guy is, but when he was calling out the home run, he said that the Vegas connection tied it up and won the game. And I'm like, you gotta love that. The Vegas connection. That's the kind of game, especially, which we'll get into now, after firing your manager, that's a game that can really spark things, that can really turn things around.
Yeah.
And they've now won 4 straight after a 3-game sweep of the Angels, and I think they finished their series with the Giants with a win. So that gives them a 4-game winning streak entering Monday. They're 4.5 games back of a wild card spot, and they no longer have Joe Girardi at the helm. How do we feel about that move?
I get it. I understand. Somebody's got to be to blame. I understand that this little hot streak that they went on after makes people forget about and almost celebrate that decision. there's only so much Joe Girardi can do with that roster configuration. There's only so much you can do. And when you're so bad defensively and you're so rough in bullpen selections, what do you want Joe Girardi to do?
You're limited defensively with flexibility.
Especially now that Harper, Bryce might just finish out the season as a full-time DH. Who knows? So now you're talking about Castellanos in right and Schwarber in left on a regular basis. The bullpen was definitely an issue. All this stuff is an issue coming in. The front office has to look at themselves and say, this is a little bit on us. And obviously the GM isn't going to fire himself. Dombrowski isn't going to get rid of himself. So it's Joe Girardi's become a little bit of the scapegoat. And then my other thought process is if Joe Girardi's, if the knock on Joe Girardi is like this older, tougher, stricter manager, right? And you wanted like a new energy and a new face, is Rob Thompson it? Is the guy that's been coaching under Joe Girardi for years it? Is that really the biggest change that you're looking for? You know what I mean? So those are a couple things that just, it bugs me a little bit. This is on the Phillies. Their configuration of this roster is a nightmare, especially when you're talking about the third highest payroll in baseball. You would think that is going to be a little different, right? I just, I think it's on the front office, and I think that's what bugs me about this. And what I would say is if I'm Bryce Harper and I'm controlling this clubhouse and I'm having this conversation with the rest of my teammates, I'm going to say, look, Girardi's gone, which means all of us are replaceable. That's that conversation I have to have. So let's play like we are replaceable. Let's play like it is some big changes will happen if we don't start playing well. Let's play that way. Not the conversation of let's really turn it on a notch for Rob Thompson. He knows us. He knows exactly what to say. It needs to be everybody's on the hot seat right now. So let's start playing good ball because it's clear this front office will not blame themselves. They're going to look at us next. Joe Girardi was our last wall of protection. Now they're going to start looking at us. So let's start playing good ball because things are going to change if we don't. And that could switch things around. And I feel like Rob Thompson's probably going to get a lot of credit if the Phillies do end up having a successful season. Maybe he should, maybe he shouldn't. I'm not a huge feel that I think the manager should be right in the middle. I don't think he gets all the credit, and I don't think he ever gets all the blame. He can't. He's got to be right in the middle. Just saying, I think that's the mentality they have to have moving forward. Say we're all replaceable. Let's play like it and prove this front office wrong.
Yeah, I tuned in for a little bit of that Dombrowski presser on Friday, and I gotta say, didn't give me the greatest confidence in the world. Like if I'm a Phillies fan, I was watching that, I'm like, I just feel like this might be lacking a little bit of accountability.
Yeah.
I just feel like, and this was before. This would have been before the Angels series, so like they didn't know that they were gonna end up sweeping the Angels. So like you're looking around going, who are we to blame here now that we've gotten rid of Joe? I don't know. There's just a lot of eyes scanning the room. There's a lot of finger pointing that I could sense, and I certainly think this sweep helped kind of lessen the blow a little bit, but even though I'm feeling a little bit better about the Phillies moving forward, and I think that maybe there's some potential to do something there, even with the terrible bullpen, I still think that, like you were saying, something needs to be addressed here in terms of mindset moving forward.
Exactly. And look, the rumor or narrative about Joe Girardi not being about his players, I know I'm a little biased, but like I watched him in New York for a while, and I watched this guy cry over the retiring of multiple legends. And I saw that connection. I saw those hugs in the dugout when CeCe was done, when Mo was done, when Jeter was done, right? When Pettit was done. I watched those connections. I'm telling you, that guy is a good manager. He is. He has a bad narrative on the fact that he's a little bit stricter and not the players coach. And I disagree. I strongly disagree. And I think this is Dombrowski's fault. And you know this. You've seen this. Dombrowski will come in and he'll clean house, dude. He will clean your bank account. He will clean your farm system. And he'll go all chips in the middle of the table and hope for the best. And he'll burn bridges on the way out. And that's just what he is. Are we really going to sit here and think that the Phillies are going to be any different? Nobody can hold that weight. Even a Bryce Harper can't carry that load. This is bad roster configuration. And this is a bad team that's been put together. Look, they know how to hit. You got professional hitters in that lineup, no doubt. And they have a decent staff. That's too much to rely on when you're missing the other two aspects of bullpen and defense. I don't see how you are a playoff contending team when you're missing two of the four main components you need.
Well said. They made this move to let go of Girardi again. I think it was announced on Friday. At the time, they were 22-29. Yeah, because they're now 25-29. Yeah, so this was Friday. They let him go, and they were 22-29, having lost 7 of their past 9 games. And at the time, they were 12 games behind the Mets and 5.5 games out of the second wild card spot. At the time, Schwarber, a guy that we just talked about, being able they having professional hitters in that lineup, he was only hitting a $192 at the time. You got Gene Segura, who is out for 3 months, and then, like we said, you got the defensive issues. You got Alec Boehm, Rhys Hoskins, Castellanos. Like you said, now that Harper's, I don't know. I'm not super in depth in terms of what the Phillies are doing on a day-to-day basis, but from the outside, I'm thinking, why would you try to push the envelope with putting Harper back out in the outfield? Like
why?
If he's doing what he's doing at the plate,
right,
and he's okay with that and he's comfortable with that slot, why not?
I think if he was an outstanding defender, that'd be a different conversation. If he's only a slight upgrade from Castellanos and then you have the potential injury getting worse, don't risk it. Leave him at DH. It's the only thing that makes sense at this point. But you argue they're going to have to bring in some fourth outfielder, fourth or fifth infielder type situation soon. Like that's something they're going to have to do soon. A guy that can play all 3 outfield positions and can rotate throughout the week and maybe play 3 or 4 games in a week. And that's something that it's going to happen. And maybe like a late defensive replacement when you got a lead in the 7th kind of thing. Those are the types of pieces obviously they're limited on payroll space. So those are the types of moves you're going to see them make. And it could help. It definitely could help. I just don't see if it's going to be enough. I don't think it will be.
So they released Girardi after the past 3 seasons, finishing with a mark of 132 and 141. So
yeah,
not a great managerial history.
No,
in terms of recent years for the Phillies, they're now on their 5th manager since Charlie Manuel. So
yeah.
I know it's easier said than done. Shift the culture a little bit.
Yeah.
Supplement the holes that you know that you have. It's no mystery. make some moves and supplement this offense that you have and that you rely on so heavily, and see if you can make a little bit of splash. The NL East is the division that I've got my eye on. We just got done talking about the Braves and where they were last year compared to where they are this year. You've got the Mets doing what they're doing, who, again, I'll go on record as saying I think the Mets are going to Met. And then you got the Phillies, who on a little bit of a run here. Not to mention the Braves are on a little bit of a run. 5-game winning streak for them. That's probably the division I've got my eye on in terms of that 3-team, I don't know if you want to call it a race.
That's going to get more snug. I agree. It's going to get more snug.
I think that those gaps are going to be closed a little bit. A gap that I don't think is going to close anytime soon, Nate, is the gap between the Astros and the Angels. Let's talk about the Angels, shall we? But before we do that, tell us about our friends over at Big League Chew.
BLC, founded by former left-handed pitcher Rob Nelson, Big League Chew started from humble beginnings in the Portland Mavericks bullpen in 1977. For more than 40 years, the iconic pouches packed with shredded, flavorful bubble gum has become the #1 shredded gum of athletes everywhere. Big League Chew has sold more than 900 million pouches and is designated as the Hall of Fame bubble gum. Grab some gum and head to Big League Chew's social media channels, at Big League Chew on Twitter, at Big League Chew Gum on Instagram to show off your Big League bubbles. You can also find a list of retailers or purchase any of their products directly from their website at bigleaguechew.com. Big League Chew.
So look, Pepperoni Tony is not all too pleased with the way the.
If you don't know who Pepperoni Tony is, it's time to tap in.
Look, I'll be honest.
Tap in.
I've had people reach out being like, "Yo, like, when is the bit? Like, when is the bit gonna be over? Like, what's with all the Angels hate?" It's like, I didn't create Pepperoni Tony. Pepperoni Tony didn't come into existence strictly solely to talk about the Angels. It just happens to be that the Angels have lost now 11 straight games.
Yeah.
And people are saying, well, what's with all the Angels hate? It's not like I just randomly decided to start hating on the Angels. I literally went back just for receipt purposes. I went back and listened to the Hot Takes episode that we released the day before the season started, or like the week before the season started. And I mentioned in there, I was talking about, and you probably remember this too. I was like, oh yeah, about it, because we were figuring out where we were placing our standing picks. And I said, oh yeah, by the way, last episode, remember my reminder went off to not change my mind on the fraud Angels. Mm-hmm. So, and look, just because I don't think people believe me, if you're watching this on YouTube, just come tell me what you're looking at right here.
If you're not watching on YouTube, get your butt on there. Go subscribe. Get a chance to win a jersey. 500 subscribers will be giving out a jersey of your choosing. So get on there. Tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your grandma to get on there and subscribe. Go.
Where's this screenshot? There it is. I screened so I wouldn't lose it. What is that? What does that say?
Don't change your mind on fraud, Angels, idiot. 3/30/2022.
So this has been since March. And I'm relishing in the fact that it's finally coming to fruition. So to say that, oh, what's with all the Angels hate? This has been ongoing. Yeah. Because I think they're frauds. And I've tried to tell people that. And they wanted to come at me when the Angels were a top baseball. They were saying, oh, the Angels are, again, are we looking at an all LA World Series here? It's not looking all that great right now. Just going to go ahead and say. And I know that we just got done talking at length about how we have overreactions around the league. It's too early to put the nail in the coffin. But I'm just telling you, I think the Angels are a little different. I just don't think the Angels are a good baseball team.
Well, I mean, here's the truth is I think everyone can realistically look at the AL West and say it is the Astros division to lose. They're a better baseball team. They're experienced. If we fast forward to August, September, they know how to come down the stretch and succeed, right? So let's just turn our head to the wild card. When you talk about teams that the Angels are legitimately competing against, if they're not in contention for the division, we have to include the Blue Jays, the Rays, the Red Sox, the White Sox. I think outside of that, most other teams are probably I wouldn't say are necessarily going to contend. If we're talking about current standings, Blue Jays having a 4.5 game lead for the first spot. Rays are right behind them for the second spot. Red Sox currently hold the third spot at 27-27. And the Angels are a half game back, with the White Sox being a full game back at that third spot. So if we're going back to what we're really talking about here, are the Angels better than the Blue Jays? No. Are the Angels better than the Rays? No. Are the Angels better than the Red Sox and the White Sox? That's the only conversation I think that's up for grabs. And that is where we have to see. That's where we have to see. If you form your opinion, I get it. I understand. I do think the White Sox, only being a game back for that third spot with all of these injuries that they're dealing with, I think that tells you something. That's probably a sleeping giant there as well. And as far as this skid goes, on a positive note for Angels fans, you can look at this and say, yeah, we've lost 11 straight, but we're still only a half game back for that third spot in the wild card. So it's a combination of understanding the season is long, but also being able to look in the mirror and looking internally and saying, you know, which Angels team is real? The one before this 11-game skid or the one that's dealing with this skid right now? But they look uninspired. They look flat. They look boring to watch. Just for me. And with that, what Mike Trout is going through, I don't know, dude. I watched a couple plays when they were playing the Yankees last week, a couple plays with Mike Trout in center field, and you're like, what's up with Mike Trout? I'm watching Marwin Gonzalez single up the middle, and because Mike Trout just coming up slow and lazy, and Marwin turning that into a double, all because Mike Trout wasn't looking up. That's not typical Mike Trout stuff. There's certain teams that go when your guy goes. That's the Angels. You 100% need Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani to go. It's not happening. And Shohei looks rough on the bump. Last 2 or 3 starts have been terrible.
Yeah, June 4th, I don't know. I didn't check to see what he did the rest of the weekend, but June 4th, he was 0 for his previous 22, which
he's currently 0 for 26.
Is he? Oh, okay, so he's over 26, which is the longest hitless streak of his career.
Yep. And its chase rate is way up, and that's the other thing. That's what I'm saying is that,
which not
even the greatest player in the world, or for some to argue the greatest player of all time, if you don't think this game is difficult to deal with mentally, you're crazy. Because you're watching this performance or lack thereof at the plate affect what he's doing in the field now. And that doesn't happen to guys like Mike Trout, and you're watching it.
And not only that, he has to deal with the fact that he is the worst commissioner in fantasy sports.
It's a combination of a lot of tough
things.
That's
what started this whole streak, right? I think he was
maybe halfway through this streak when it happened, I think.
That's just not good, man.
It's not good.
His previous long hitless streak was 0 for 21 back in 2018 in May.
He's going to be okay. He's going to be fine. The Angels, however, different conversation. Different conversation.
Did I already mention this? The Angels 3 weeks ago were 24-13. and now have a losing record?
Baseball, man. Baseball's different.
And again, not to bring up a point that I've already shared here, but just to put things in perspective, everyone was so high on the Angels, yet we sit here on Monday, June 6th.
Yeah.
And they have a worse record than the Boston Red Sox, the team that everyone was riding for their performance to start the season. And here we are with the Red Sox at 500 ball. I'm just saying, I think your point is valid. I think it's going to be an interesting mix down the stretch to see where they fall into line in terms of this wild card race with the Red Sox. And I mean, if the White Sox for some reason don't decide not to turn it around and they're in the White Sox for some reason.
If the White Sox don't get it going within the next month, I think Tony La Russa is out.
I know many White Sox fans that are hoping and praying for that day.
Yeah, I think he's out. I think it's coming. Questionable decisions. I'm watching a lot of questionable decisions being made, specifically with the bullpen. Multiple instances this year where he has not managed the bullpen very well in very high leverage scenarios, making very questionable decisions. So,
and look, if you're making questionable decisions on a nightly basis, okay, I understand. Reason for maybe being let go. But if you're just going to fall on the age thing, I'm not buying it. We've already addressed this.
Yeah.
What's going on in Queens right now? Do they have some young 30-something at the helm? No, they don't. So like the age thing, sure,
Snicker
it can be
in Atlanta, older on the
yeah,
older
it's
side.
like you can throw that into the mix as like a component to the conversation, but don't just fall back on, well, we got to get this old bag out of there. It's like, well, no.
Yeah.
It goes much deeper than that.
Yeah.
But like you said, I mean, if you're making questionable decisions and you're not managing the team that you've been charged to handle very well, then okay. Then that's a different conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, I would assume he's probably lost his voice in that clubhouse. And there's a lot of weird, unhealthy stuff going around. Just strange injuries and things like that are recurring for a lot of these players, and it's not easy. It's not easy to deal with, but they're still a team that I think is better than the Angels. And the difference is, I think you got a GM in Chicago that has been shown a willingness to make moves, and then you got a GM in ownership with the Angels that I don't think I'd say the same thing about. I think they put themselves in a position at the beginning of each year and say, this is what we're riding out the whole year. That would make me a little nervous. We'll see.
We will see. Well, that's about all I had for our main topics of discussion today, my friend. I got some notes here for closing the book. I actually just mentioned this man's name, Buck Showalter. Did you see the other day where I don't know if it was a challenge, like if he challenged it, but did you see where the Mets called out, who were they even playing? Do you remember, with the position player pitching thing? With that rule?
No idea.
You would have thought I would have come better prepared for this. But apparently Buck Showalter is just a guru when it comes to knowing the rule book, and made note of the fact that a position player was pitching or being brought on to pitch, and the run gap was not greater than 6 runs. Did you know that was a rule?
No. That is a rule?
So the rule is teams can only pitch position players in extra innings or if their team is winning or losing by more than 6 runs.
I had no idea that was a rule. Is this a fairly new rule?
Apparently the rule was suspended during the 2020 pandemic season, but was recently reinstituted. And Buck Showalter was aware of that.
So what happened? He just couldn't make that change? He had to change his mind, or?
Oh, right. It was the Dodgers. That's right. It was the series against the Dodgers. So the Dodgers were trailing 9-4, and they were going to use infielder Zach McKinstry to pitch in the ninth.
Mm-hmm.
But you have that rule that you have to be aware of, apparently. And Buck Showalter, I guess, was one of the only guys in the room that was aware of that.
Really?
Rule,
so the umpires didn't even know, and it was about to happen until Bucky came over and said, "Nah, this can't work."
Seems like it. And then they had to the umpire had to come out on the field, flip on his little mic, and make the call. And I think people were like looking around, going, "What is that? What is that all about?"
I like it. Hey, you can't slide one past my man Buck. That guy's tapped in. For sure.
I'm a little confused at the decision to pitch a position play. You're only down 6. We've seen comebacks.
Yeah.
Much more.
I don't know. Who'd you say they were
impressive
playing?
than that? What's that?
Who were they playing?
It was the Dodgers and the Mets.
Well. Yeah, it's clear Davey Roberts kind of operates on his own style. Anyway.
Another note I had here before we get out of here. Did you see the Pensacola Blue Wahoos and how they won their game this weekend?
Was that triple play?
No.
Did you see that crazy minor league triple play?
No.
Ugh.
What happened?
All right, you go first. I'll tell you mine.
So the Pensacola Blue Wahoos won their game by scoring 3 runs in the ninth. You know how they won? You know how they won that game, Nate?
I did see this. 4 consecutive hit by pitch.
An error, a walk, and 4 consecutive hit by pitches.
Tough.
And I'll be honest with you, I didn't think the response was all that impressive. I'm thinking if I win the game off 4 consecutive hit by pitches, I'm going nuts. But they were just like, yeah, we won the game. I was like, okay, well, clearly they're not as excited about this as I was, but it's fine.
So mine was
I think
so this was a high A Great Lakes game.
Yeah, the Loons. All right, so it's a ball hit to center. Guy throws in a second, gets the guy rounding second, tags him, throws home. The guy rounding third tags him at home, throws it to second to get this guy in a pickle. The third baseman's running him back to second, and they tag him out in between second and third.
I mean, probably the worst base running I've ever seen.
What are we doing? I mean, props to like trying to make something happen here on the base pass, but sometimes less is more.
Such a bad decision, base running wise. To be fair, the team they were on the bases, they were up 9-1 or 7-1 or something
7-1,
like that.
Yeah.
So it didn't hurt things too much, but yikes.
I definitely didn't see that. That's crazy.
Bad baseball for sure.
That went down as an 8-6-2-4-5.
Painful.
Triple play. That's crazy.
Painful.
That's about all I got.
How'd you do this weekend? How'd you hit yesterday?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask because I know I promised a tank. 1 for 2 with 2 walks in the first game, and then 1 for 3 and possibly a walk. I can't remember in the second game.
What were those knocks?
2 Ks in the second game. Just a couple singles. Nothing great. I felt good about it too.
Did we play a little 3-bag? I
had 1 play in the field all day. And it was like a 80-foot hopper or like an 80-foot chopper.
Yeah.
Landed right in front of me and picked it up, threw it over to first. Barely got it over there in time, but that was about it.
That sounds pretty boring.
Was not an eventful day for.
Yeah. Well,
Big Daddy Mac.
It happens. It happens. Good
You got anything else for the Chasers?
Look, I mean, just pay attention to this Yankees pitching staff. That's all I'm going to say. Just look it up. Just look it up. This pitching staff is going off right now. Off. Like historically great. So, yeah.
I thought you were going to say keep an eye out for the 3-0 fake number 5 on Thursday.
That puppy's coming in hot. I'm feeling good about that one.
Pyramids on Thursday.
A lot going on there. A lot going on.
Talk
you
about
don't know about it.
Talk about the conspiracies behind the pyramids on Thursday. So tune into that. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Nate, did you say SeatGeek has answered to all your ticket needs?
So
Are you looking
lazy.
for tickets? Do you have plans of friends or family to make it to an upcoming game or concert, or are you even looking months ahead to nail down a date to get tickets before they sell out? With SeatGeek, you can find tickets to games, concert shows, and even theater performances with just a few easy clicks, or making it even better for you if you're a first-time user. SeatGeek. Next time you add some tickets to your cart, use our promo code the number 3, the number 0, take pod. That is our social handle at checkout to save $20 instantly off your first purchase as a first-time user. So all you got to do to save some of that.
Cold hard cash.
Enter promo code the number 3, the number 0, take pod. That's our social handle at checkout. SeatGeek. People are using it. I'm seeing it. I'm in there on the back end. I'm in the dashboard. I'm seeing the uses. People are going to those concerts.
Working.
They're going to those games, and they're going to those theater performances.
Yeah. I wish we could see like where the tickets were being purchased.
Yeah, I would love a more advanced breakdown of how many. Like,
if you do use the promo code, please just tag us in a picture wherever you are. It doesn't even have to be a baseball thing. Wherever you go, just give us a little love, give us a little shout out.
Go to like an orchestra or choral performance and just tag Nate and just rub it in his face, because he doesn't think that people do those kinds of things. I know there ain't no chasers out there doing that. Some people have multiple interests, Nate. It's a normal thing. All right.
I know there's a few of you in the league that probably like the like a ballet or something. I could see that.
Wow. Our fantasy league just taking uncalled ricochets. That's about all I got. We'll see you Thursday.
It's a good day. It's a good day. Let's crush it this week, folks. Let's get after it. Don't go chasing curveballs.
We love y'all, and as always, looking forward to talking more baseball with you guys soon. Until next time, stay filthy.